Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Y&R Trends. On Monday, January 5, 2026, Genoa City wakes up under a sky that feels like it's holding its breath, as if even the clouds know something big is about to happen. A voice of fate cuts through the quiet like a slow, steady drumbeat, because this is not an ordinary day. It's the day secrets come out and consequences finally catch up. At the Newman Ranch, Victor Newman stands by the fireplace, holding a DNA envelope so tightly that his knuckles turn white. His voice is shaky as he mutters that 3 words on that paper changed everything. The child he thought was lost, erased by lies and manipulation, is alive, and the truth hits him like a silent explosion. It forces him to face not just someone who stole his blood, but also the choices he made over the years that led to this moment. Nikki watches from the doorway, sensing that the man she knows is breaking, not from weakness, but from the unbearable weight of regret. Across town at the Chancellor Estate, Jill Abbott stares at Catherine's portrait, as if asking for permission to do what she must. Her voice is sharp but full of fear as she promises that the truth about the fake, hidden money, and betrayal in their own family will come out today no matter who gets hurt, because a legacy built on lies is just another lie. At Society, Lily Winters sits alone, her coffee gone cold as she listens to Kane's last voicemail. He begged and apologized, promising everything would be different, but the 3 words she said back to him, 3 words that broke whatever hope was left, are still playing in her mind. Her eyes fill with tears, not for what she lost, but for the version of herself she will never get back. At Crimson Lights, Sharon's hands shake as she locks the door early, her instincts telling her something bad is happening. She can feel Mariah's absence like a wound. When the sirens sound in the distance, Sharon's voice cracks as she whispers her daughter's name. Unaware that just a few blocks away, Mariah Copeland is sitting in an interrogation room under bright lights, her mascara running, her voice steady but empty. She repeats the same sentence over and over, that she didn't mean for anyone to die. But the evidence against her tells a much darker story. Photos, timelines, and a final voice recording that ends in silence are laid out before her. When the detective asks what her last words were before the incident, Mariah closes her eyes, takes a breath, and whispers 3 devastating words that will echo through Genoa City like a curse. At the Abbott mansion, Jack reads Allie's final letter for the 3rd time, his voice breaking as the truth finally hits home. The names, the dates, and the fear in the writing all point to one horrifying conclusion. Someone he trusted helped destroy his family from the inside. When Kyle walks in, Jack's expression hardens, not with anger but with the resolve of a man who's done protecting lies, even if it costs him his son. At Newman Enterprises, Victoria Newman speaks to the boardroom with icy control, announcing restructurings, dismissals, and strategic freezes that leave the executives stunned. Beneath her calm tone is a mother fighting to save her family from falling apart. Whispers are already spreading about Nick's death not being an accident. When security footage shows bruises on Nick's neck that were never recorded, the voiceover slows, emphasizing each word as the truth rises, pointing directly at Matt, whose hands tremble as he watches the footage alone in a dark office, realizing his story is falling apart brick by brick. Across town, Nikki confronts Victor and asks who the child is. When Victor finally says the name, the room spins because that name connects enemies, lovers, and betrayals that lasted for years. Nikki's voice shatters as she realizes the cost of keeping secrets too long. At the hospital, Tessa sits beside Daniel, feeling guilty as she tells the truth about the night everything went wrong. Her voice is barely above a whisper as she admits that love drove her to make choices she can never take back. Daniel's response, just 3 quiet words, breaks her in a way that screams never could, because sometimes the softest truths hurt the most. As the episode moves forward, Lucy confronts her father, her voice raw and trembling as she asks why adults keep lying. She forces Daniel to face the damage left behind by their secrets. In a shadowed alley, Audra packs her last belongings, one hand on her stomach as she whispers goodbye to a city that gave her power and pain. Her farewell message is already recorded, ready to shock Genoa City when it plays. Back at the police station, Sharon finally arrives and sees Mariah in handcuffs. As mother and daughter lock eyes, the world seems to stop. The voiceover slows to highlight every heartbeat and unspoken word, because love doesn't disappear in handcuffs. When Mariah finally speaks, her voice breaks for the first time, not for what she did, but for what Sharon will have to go through because of it. As the episode builds up, Victor makes one final call, his voice cold and final as he declares that whoever framed his family, whoever spilled Newman blood will pay. No matter how long it takes, no matter who they are, because this is no longer just business, it's war. As the camera sweeps across Genoa City one last time, lingering on faces marked by grief, anger, and determination, the narrator's voice grows quiet, like a whisper reminding us that in Genoa City, the truth never stays buried. Love is both a weapon and a shield, and every secret has a cost. As the screen fades to black, the final words echo like a promise and a warning: tomorrow, nothing will ever be the same. The next chapter opens with Genoa City still reeling from the night before, the air heavy with unfinished truths and the kind of silence that follows emotional devastation. As dawn breaks over the Newman ranch and Victor Newman stands at the window watching the horizon with eyes hardened not by age but by war, because the DNA revelation has shifted something primal inside him, and his voice, low and deliberate in the voiceover, declares that blood calls to blood and debts must be paid, while Nikki enters quietly, sensing that the man she loves has crossed an invisible line, her plea for caution trembling as Victor responds with chilling calm that this family has been hunted long enough. And across town at the police station, Mariah sits alone in her cell replaying the moment everything went wrong, the echoes of sirens, the flash of fear, the 3 words she spoke before the darkness swallowed everything. And when Sharon returns with an attorney and tear-swollen eyes, mother and daughter clasp hands through cold steel bars, their whispered exchange raw and stripped of pretense, as Sharon promises she will fight for her child even if the whole city turns against them, while the investigation intensifies with detectives uncovering a hidden call log that places another player at the scene, someone powerful enough to manipulate timelines and erase footage, sending shockwaves through the department. And at Newman Enterprises, Victoria receives an encrypted file marked confidential, her face draining of color as she realizes Nick's death is no longer just suspicious but orchestrated. And when she confronts Matt in a closed office, the tension is suffocating, his excuses unraveling as she slides the photos of bruises across the desk, her voice deadly calm as she tells him the truth always collects its due. While at the Abbott mansion, Jack gathers Kyle and Diane in the living room, Allie's letter lying between them like a loaded weapon. And as Jack reads aloud, the final lines revealing who betrayed her, the room fractures, Diane's denial collapsing into rage, Kyle's shock giving way to guilt, and Jack's heartbreak transforming into resolve as he declares that the Abbott name will no longer protect anyone who destroys its own, even if it means tearing the family apart. And meanwhile Lily faces Kane one last time in a quiet office at Chancellor Winters, the air thick with everything they never healed, her voice steady but merciless as she explains that love cannot survive manipulation, that forgiveness without accountability is just surrender. And when Kane begs, offering everything, Lily responds with 3 words that echo louder than any scream, words that end a chapter of her life forever. While at the hospital, Daniel confronts Tessa again after Lucy overhears whispers she was never meant to hear, Lucy's confrontation shattering both parents as she demands the truth, forcing Daniel to admit his failures and Tessa to acknowledge the damage caused by silence. And when Lucy walks away, the weight of generational consequences settles heavily on them. As elsewhere, Audra's farewell video leaks early, her voice unapologetic and defiant as she announces her departure and hints at a truth she chose not to expose, one that leaves several powerful figures scrambling to contain the fallout. And back at the Newman ranch, Victor makes a call that freezes the blood of everyone who hears about it, activating old contacts, private investigators, and resources long buried because he has identified the shadow behind Nick's death and Mariah's arrest as part of the same web. And when Nikki asks if he's sure, Victor answers that certainty is a luxury he no longer needs, while Sharon uncovers a memory Mariah suppressed, a detail so small yet devastating that it recontextualizes the entire case, leading Sharon to realize her daughter may not be the villain everyone wants her to be. And as the episode barrels forward, Matt attempts to flee, only to be intercepted by Newman's security, his panic exposing everything he tried to hide. While at society, whispers ripple through the city as alliances shift, loyalties fracture, and enemies sense blood in the water, culminating in a final scene where Victor and Victoria stand together overlooking Genoa City, father and daughter united not by power but by loss, as Victor vows that justice will come whether the law delivers it or not, and the narrator's voice lowers to a grave whisper, reminding us that in Genoa City, survival often demands sacrifice, Love is tested by fire, and the truth, once awakened, cannot be silenced. As the screen fades to black on a single chilling promise, this was only the beginning. The next chapter detonates without warning as Genoa City slips from uneasy tension into open fracture, the kind where every smile is a mask and every silence screams guilt, and the voiceover begins low and deliberate, warning that when the truth starts moving, it does not slow down for mercy, opening at the police station where Mariah Copeland is transferred from holding into a secured cell, her footsteps echoing like a countdown as officers whisper behind her back, already convinced they've caught their monster, while Sharon watches helplessly from the corridor, her hands clenched in prayer as the weight of motherhood collides with the brutality of the system, because loving your child does not mean the world will spare them, and as Sharon meets with the defense attorney, a single phrase changes everything when the attorney confirms that the prosecution has a witness ready to testify that Mariah threatened the victim hours before the incident. A lie so cleanly packaged it terrifies Sharon more than the evidence itself. While across town at Newman Enterprises, Victoria Newman locks the boardroom doors and confronts her executive team with ruthless clarity, announcing an internal purge that sends panic rippling through the company, because someone inside leaked security access tied to Nick's final movements. And as faces pale around the table, Victoria's voice cuts like steel, promising that loyalty will be rewarded and betrayal will be annihilated. And at the Newman Ranch, Victor stands before a wall of old photographs, pausing at one image long enough for the voiceover to note that regret is the most expensive currency of all, because he now sees how every compromise he ever made gave someone else permission to destroy his family. And when Michael Baldwin arrives with legal updates that confirm Nick's death is officially being reclassified as homicide, Victor doesn't react with shock but with vindication, because in his mind the war already began. The moment blood was spilled, while Nikki struggles in silence, torn between standing by Victor and fearing what he's becoming again. As elsewhere at the Abbott mansion, Jack Abbott confronts Kyle with the final, unredacted version of Allie's letter, revealing not just betrayal but coordination, a timeline that proves someone deliberately ensured she could not escape, and Kyle's denial collapses into stunned horror as Jack's voice cracks, not with anger but grief so deep it borders on rage, and when Jack finally says that some sins poison generations, Kyle realizes this is no longer about forgiveness but survival of the family itself, while Diane watches from the doorway knowing the past she buried is clawing its way back to daylight, and across town Lily Winters signs the last document dissolving her professional ties to Kane, the pen shaking slightly as the voiceover reminds us that endings don't always come with closure, sometimes they come with clarity, and when Kane storms in, desperate and unraveling, Lily's calm dismantles him more brutally than shouting ever could, because she tells him she sees him now, not as a villain, not as a lover, but as a warning she will never ignore again. While at the hospital, Daniel receives confirmation that Lucy has skipped school, triggering panic that turns to dread when he realizes how much she overheard. And when Lucy finally confronts him at home, her voice trembling with betrayal, she demands to know why adults keep choosing secrets over children, a question that leaves Daniel speechless because no excuse survives the truth. And as Tessa watches from the shadows, guilt crushes her chest as she realizes love does not justify collateral damage. While Audra's departure explodes across social media, her farewell message triggering speculation, accusations, and fear, especially when viewers decode her final line as a warning about a powerful man who silences women before they speak, sending shockwaves through Genoa City's elite. And back at the police station, a break finally comes when Sharon uncovers an overlooked timestamp that places Mariah miles away at the moment the fatal injury occurred. But just as hope sparks, the prosecution counters with altered metadata that threatens to erase the breakthrough entirely, forcing Sharon to confront the terrifying reality that someone with deep resources is actively shaping the narrative. While Newman's security intercepts Matt at a private airstrip, his attempt to flee collapsing into hysteria as he screams that he was set up too, his words ringing hollow until Victor steps forward from the shadows, his presence alone enough to strip Matt of every remaining lie. And when Victor quietly says Nick's name, Matt breaks, revealing pieces of a conspiracy larger than anyone anticipated, one involving manipulated footage, planted witnesses, and a final order that came from someone who wanted Nick silenced permanently. While Victoria listens from behind the glass, her heart shattering as rage replaces grief, and as night falls, Genoa City feels smaller, tighter, as if the walls themselves are closing in, culminating in a chilling final sequence where Mariah receives a message slipped under her cell door. 3 words written in unfamiliar handwriting that prove she was never meant to survive this ordeal, while Sharon looks out over the city from her car, realizing that saving her daughter will require tearing down a lie powerful enough to destroy them all. And as the narrator's voice fades into a warning, it reminds us that in Genoa City, justice is rarely clean, love is never safe, and once the truth starts hunting, no one escapes unchanged. As the screen cuts to black on one final promise, this chapter ends, but the reckoning has only just begun.